review the details on him. And since our last meeting, the vice chair of the Metro North Community Council, Neil Zuckerman, was appointed to fill the Putnam County seat. So there's a vacancy there on the MTA board, and the council thankfully decides not to nominate me, so I will be the replacement on the board without a vote. And whenever the process starts, it'll start. The council elected Oren to be the vice chair. Okay, Bradley is happily a permanent employee, as it's written here. All of the paperwork and everything is done. It was a long battle, but we finally have everything squared away in our relationship with the MTA. Everybody is happy now, and MOU was signed, and I think it was a great accomplishment for everybody that was involved in that. The preliminary budget was released by the MTA in late July, and again, it's talking 4% increase in fare yield, so there'll be more discussion about that later. And that's about all I have to say about this, so I'll pass it on now to Long Island Railroad.
The report what they was sent out, so I'll take any questions.
It was.
I'll take any questions.
Anybody, any questions about the Long Island Council report?
Okay.
See it. Anything you want to bring up, Mark?
Nope, everything is in there. Okay.
I can't top that, so I don't have anything to add to the report. Andrew?
Well, before what? On Long Island Railroad?
This is which one talking about distributed. It's been distributed, so if you have any questions, we're happy to answer. Andrew?
The only thing I'd say is that the decision, as everyone knows, has been made to go into the 18-month RC2 reconstruction, which will commence in 2019. Before that can happen, Bushwick Viaduct reconstruction has to happen. We had our annual field trip in August. We went out and looked at the elevated structure around Myrtle and Broadway and saw the decomposition and spalling of solid concrete. And we got a really terrific update from the project manager on how they're going to do this. We also got up to an area just south of the Metropolitan Avenue end of the M line and saw the vehicular bridge that some freight trains are actually hitting. So they're going to be lowering the tracks, raising the bridge a little bit. All of this happens before the RC2 work. And the other thing is, I don't know if anyone saw the news, but the first few test cars of the R179 car order has arrived in New York. Those will replace the rightfully maligned R32s, the oldest trains that are running anywhere in the MTA system. So we hope the testing goes really well and that we can get these trains on the property sooner rather than later. And obviously, if we can get a good amount of them on the property before the Canarsie Tube shutdown, that means the additional service on the J and the G and the M lines will have cars available to do that. So we hope that happens.
All right. So our old business was talking about the meeting time. So who has some information on that?
Chris has a question.
Yes, Chris.
Yes, going on 179. I thought that's one thing I mentioned to you in the July meeting. I thought I saw a C train look kind of different the other day. Is that the train that I was telling you about?
No, the R179s, there's not even enough of them here to make a whole train yet.
Yeah, my understanding is
Okay.
it's one a day.
Like a vitamin.
One comes down a day.
And
So that's a very
and they're very
possibility.
delayed from when
So
they were
if you're
supposed to.
saying, maybe if they've seen it, because it happened on a Monday night.
Okay. Next item is the meeting time.
Okay. Okay, so we asked again for the folks that haven't responded about meeting times, and it appears that we have sort of a fragile consensus that we should stay where we are. First, as far as first choices, we had 17 people respond for first choices, 5 like the morning time, 8 like the noon time, 1 like early afternoon, nobody like mid-afternoon, and 3 like late afternoon. If you take the first two choices, number 1 and number 2, we had 5 total, and if you assume 3 is sort of neutral and 4 and 5 are bad, the first 2, for the morning time, there were 7 people who made that their first or second choice, but the noon time had 12. Early afternoon 4, mid-afternoon 1, late afternoon 5. So it seems like we have a consensus to leave the meeting where it is, and I'm not changing this point.
Okay. All right, no change.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is it possible to throw out there, maybe start 12:30 instead of 12? I mean, a lot of people have lunch between 1 and 2. So 12, and some people can't come at 12. I just, I know, but I mean, I thought, let me decide now, I'm just throwing it out there. I know, because guys said 12, but there may be a variation.
We can do a little quick poll on
What about right
that.
here? Is that anybody here?
12:30 versus
Right, so-
12, is that what you're saying?
Right, anyone who would favor a 12, who would support a 12:30 time?
Okay, that's it.
Anybody who wants to keep it at 12?
So,
All right.
in the absence of
So till the next time.
Wednesday, 12.
Okay,
in the
thank
absence
you.
of a groundswell, I guess we'll stay at 12. We can.
Okay, next one. Who's doing that? The fair outreach.
Public engagement, I mean, it's part of the,
Well, we're up to new business now.
yes, we are. Yeah, I mean, whoever's going to do the show, but we have a presentation, right? Is it on the?
No, the fair outreach.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
Okay. So, as you know, we've been talking about the public engagement process for the potential fair hearings that could occur or other things that campaigns engaged in, and trying to improve it on how it's been done in the past. With the L line, a huge improvement was made on how that they went about it, and it seems that public opinion was actually moved in that, where I think of people started out really being against a total shutdown, but then through being informed and holding the meetings and putting the effort into it, it moved people to help understand that that was the best approach to really have a successful effort and then maybe less fun. So we're interested in going forward with that. I'm sorry, we're hoping to get a meeting with you in a little bit. And we're sort of focusing on 3 areas, which would be, one is high-level stakeholder roundtables like we did with the capital program in a joint effort with ULI to get their support and really using the opportunity to inform the public on why the system costs as much as it does and understand it in relative terms to other systems, but really have it be an education program so there's an understanding of why the fares are what they are, why they are not higher than everybody else's, and what the possible benefits, what you're actually getting for your money. So we're looking at 4 forums. We're also looking at social media as an opportunity to engage in a much more productive way. And then also to include social media. And then,
Sorry, I just couldn't really hear that much back there.
So social media-
These are forms to what, for them to give their position?
yeah, to use it as an opportunity to get people to understand what the MTA is, what it provides, why it costs a ton to run the system. We did this for the capital program, and we're seeing that we have a lot of positive feedback when we
I guess my
partner with the
question
Urban
is,
Land
but
Institute.
we don't want to be out there saying that a fair increase in
It's
salary
not-
would be,
No,
would
it's
be
not.
okay.
It's not saying it's okay, but it is helping people understand the system much better.
I just want to we're not looking to see if we're in a position necessarily speaking on behalf or with the MTA on a fair.
We are not, we are asking the MTA to do a bigger engagement process.
No, you're saying that, sir. That's what.
I understand, no, of course,
I
that
don't
makes
think it
sense.
seems- Capital
No,
was
it
different,
is
because
not.
we all were supportive
It
of
is
that.
not for that exception purpose. But the third thing is to have
Can we have one conversation?
the third area is having some public forums where stakeholders who are like the academic community and the advocates and elected officials come and have a discussion to understand the system also and give feedback into it, which was done under Lee Sanders several years ago, and it was very, very good. At that same time, there was a white paper that was written by Alan Zirkin that really lays out the value of having a more informed discussion, and laying out, a bit more of the choice tends to come down to service cuts or raising the fare, and having some discussion around that, and having forums like that, rather than the hearings, which makes everybody very angry at the MTA, because it is a panel that does not respond to the people at the microphone who may bring up important things, and nobody really knows where the suggestions go or what happens to them. So to just have a bit more dialogue going on is what we are hoping to accomplish.
Who would run such forums?
We're asking the MTA to put out an effort, and has been done.
I mean, we had a discussion at one of the board meetings, and I remember bringing up when it was one of the every other year fare increase discussions, that riders understand the need for occasional fare increases, but they want to know that they're getting something for that. And on some occasions, service has been, really improved to coincide with some of those. On some, it has not.
Yeah, and so having,
Also, I mentioned when the fare went to $2.75, or $2.50, I guess it was, one of those. And I said, I forget who it was, but he said it was head of transit at that time. I said, why aren't there car cards that say, think the fare is $2.75? Think again. Here's ways you can beat the fare increase, like monthlies, weeklies, multiple ride tickets, all of that. They don't do anything like that.
no, and this is the thing, and now with Facebook, where you can, focus ads and have content inside of those ads that do some explanations that explain some of this, and it would be very valuable, and it's not a very high cost. So we have a lot of detail, backing up some of these ideas, doing infographics that efficiently help people understand the system better.
Just want to understand something. Your idea is to do this, have these forums in lieu of hearings?
No.
No.
They're to lead up to,
Lead up to
so in the
six.
past, it's been, you have these hearings at, whatever point in time,
Six.
but to see there's a value to leading up to the hearings, so people are coming to the hearings a bit more informed.
Because they're statutorily required to
Yeah,
have a
it's
hearing
not in
of
replace,
parks and
it's not in
fair
replace of the
changes,
hearings,
but-
it is in a lead
But
up.
don't they do borough meetings and forums?
Not very much. In the past, they have not.
They hold hearings in the various boroughs and
Yes,
counties,
hearings,
of course.
but not forums for.
No, they're not forums, they're one-way talk, they don't.
Yeah, it's
normally-
not the way how line was done, which is a lot of preliminary.
And when would you schedule these, the forms?
We're not.
When would they schedule them? How far in advance? of the
Well, and
hearing?
ideally in November, you know,
Because you said you don't know what happens to the testimony or the information, and we have someone who's serving as our representative.
Well, we do,
So,
yeah,
do
we
you,
do.
do you not get any synopsis of
The
We
people
get
that-
the entire
Right.
transcript of all.
Sure you do.
No, we don't
Exactly.
not know. The people that are giving the testimony have voiced that they give it, that in the hearings, they don't have a response back from the.
I think it's
board members.
available for
Right,
anyone
it's
to
just
send
the
you on the NPS
transcript.
website as well.
Right,
And
but
it's
they
re-
don't,
It's reported in the media. The hearings are well covered.
it's,
I don't think there's a lack of
yeah.
information.
it's not, I think you're not
I
understanding.
get the value of providing information so that the people that are going to the public hearings are informed of the need or what's happening.
Understanding the system.
Right, understanding the system. But do you think they're gonna be open to doing that when we're fighting every time to get additional public hearings?
Well,
And they
they-
say they don't have the resources.
Oh, would the MTA be open?
Right, I mean, I'm
We
just
don't.
asking how realistic
I think
is that?
there's more hope because the L was done differently, and I think the outcome was so positive.
That's a
So,
major reconstruction project,
it is.
as opposed to the periodic fare
It
increase.
is. But this also feeds into, it gets harder and harder to get public support to fund the portions, whether it's the capital program or it's that portion that's not covered by the fare. And it does seem that if you could move the needle on getting public perception of the MTA in a better spot, it has a larger long-term implication. And certainly when people are more focused on the MTA, because there could be an increase, which is scheduled regularly every 2 years, it's not, it can be seen as an opportunity.
How many are you proposing? How many is for?
I think it's a discussion with the MTA and to understand what their perspective is, what kind of budget is being, can be allocated to it. The one that was held at the Kimmel Center was really a very productive, terrific, lots of round tables, we could spoke at it.
Maybe we could do a webinar.
Yeah,
And also the-
that was, what, 8 years?
8 years ago.
8 years ago, so
So
technology's changed.
in what we've put together, it's the different types of webinars that you can do. It's there, in some cases, the chairman has gone on, and other transit agencies, gone online for a Q&A session. There's a lot of different opportunities now than there were several years ago, and that's the portion where, really the white paper that we're sort of, we're very supportive of and never really saw a lot of light.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Chris, is that you?
Yes, it is. I have a question.
Yes?
My question is, it looks like it's a good idea, but the question is how can we help you guys out? It sounds like, how can, I'll make an example for maybe more. How can we, help you guys? Yep, that's number one. But the number two question is we also need to educate the other MTA divisions, let them know who we are too. Because some of us, and I'll be honest with you, it's glad to know that in Brooklyn they don't know me, or they know me in other places, or they know Edith, they know Trudy, they know Jack, they know Bill. But you've got some people who are they're in their little tower boxes, when I'm going to say, oh, maybe like a box. Don't even, never heard of what is a TRT, why do we have a T on our badges, or Long Island Railroad badges? They're keeping their face. We need to educate at least 50% of the MTA out there, not in the office divisions, but outside the field.
I think that's
Because a lot
up,
of them don't probably know it.
it's up to each council, the type of outreach or
But
discussion
now,
they
can
want
you
to
speak up a
do.
little bit, and I can hear your voice?
So I think that each council can decide, how they're, that type of outreach effort that is done. I think it's also in talking with MTA headquarters to understand what the approach will be. And there's still a lot of information we need to gather before we make plans for what each council will do and how the members can be helpful or informative to the riders.
I definitely agree what you're saying, Ellie, very much, but I'm just using it as an example because there is some Long Island Railroad, I'm going to say a little bit of Metro North, Long Island Railroad, and a little bit of a lot of subways and buses don't know what is an ELC Transit Riders Council unless you mention a person's first name. So I'm going to say this to all the councils who are there today. We still need to educate them, let them know who we all are in all different divisions. And let them know that we're on your side, we're not the bad guys. We need to make that very clear. Starting this September.
That's second.
That's like a new season.
That's second.
And by the way, Ellie, I definitely agree what you're saying about the ideas.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
But I just gotta ask everyone, if you're going to speak, can you please one person speak,
Okay.
because I like to get the whole
Chris,
person.
Bill Gilt's going to speak now.
Just say please.
Thanks.
Hi,
Bill Gilt.
this is Bill. I think we've been very careful as a committee or as council that this isn't our educational
It's not.
effort, except to educate the MTA that they ought to do it.
Yes.
And you're quite right, it was very successful. Was it really 8 years ago?
Yeah.
It worked very well, and there ought to be more of that.
It is not our effort. It is an effort
And
to
this
try it.
can't be-
In our role as advisors to the MTA, this is an
This
effort
is
we would
us,
like to
that's
see.
right, our role is advising the MTA, not showing them that the MTA carried.
Absolutely.
We have to avoid that.
Yes.
And is this suggestion for additional meetings or for an alteration to the existing meetings the MTA holds on?
I think that there's an opportunity to decide what is best. I don't think we should go to a level of detail on exactly where forums end and hearings begin. I think the legislation got changed a couple of years ago or something. There was with the federal package. So I thought there's a little bit more flexibility, but I think it's an understanding.
Yeah, it's
but-
there definitely doesn't, the federal regulations definitely do not require a public hearing. They require public outreach and opportunities to give input, but they don't require necessarily, they don't specify a hearing format.
One of the off-putting things about the present fare increase hearings is that there's a whole panel of people sitting up at the dais, there's people speaking, and there is apparently no response.
Yeah.
There is a response at the tables outdoor of the room where the hearing is held, and, there's transit or Metro North staff or whoever in there, they will answer questions. But at the actual hearing, it's kind of, some of the board members will occasionally say something.
And I think it's really appreciated. And the
but in
Alan
places-
Durkin, Dennis Smith paper goes into sort of the degree, you can't respond to everybody. But there are certain ones periodically where you can respond to them and where a lot of thought has gone into it.
The hearings I've gone to, that the paucity of speakers, so there's ample time
Right,
for
yeah.
them to speak. But I can understand the city with,
The city.
dozens and dozens of people who want to speak, it's probably practical to do it. But yeah, it's always nice when you go to a public hearing, you get some feedback.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
And it's not,
And one of the Brooklyn hearings, several years ago, one of the people yelled, go back to your limos, to all of us. And I had to respond, my limo's the number 2 train.
Yeah.
How about you?
Is there anything else that you want to add to this? Any other discussion, anyone?
I think just that if people have ideas about public engagement, ways of public engagement that would be useful or they feel would be particularly effective, let us know. Because
what is the next step? Ellen is gonna try to get a meeting with Amy, is that it?
Well, we're working on some
Whoever.
research, yeah, yeah.
People have to feel like they're getting something for their fare. That's
Yeah.
very important.
We've got nothing less than losses. No, and
At some point.
we're talking about
Yeah,
that.
That's not good.
I thought so.
It's been on the drawing board for as many years as I've been on the council, and nothing has happened.
Yeah, but
This looks like fat.
Andrew, you bring up a very strong point. In the areas that the MTA does not provide a higher level service, eastern Long Island, west of Hudson, and even parts of Queens, you know, the people come and they say, our fares keep going up, but what are we seeing in return for some better service? And sometimes maybe even having one of our council members attend, maybe have a little table where people can come over and talk to them. You know, we've had those in Grand Central where we had people come over, and we got some very good feedback. There's some very silly things that Metro North is doing that could dramatically improve the service. It really would cost very much, if anything.
Yeah.
Those discussions leading up.
Yeah, but at least they can talk to somebody that has some knowledge of what it's all about.
Maybe we should take turns
What's that?
setting up a table of different
Yes.
sections and just being there.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
I have a question. So, the information that would be shared with the community at large, who would craft that? What would be a fact sheet or who would craft that? MTA?
This is, right now, it's at a, yes, request to the MTA to do a bigger effort than has been done in the past.
But like always, are we gonna be able to have some input in that fact sheet? Because sometimes there are things that they obviously reported correctly that we've been able to correct.
So that's how the relationship has been, that we do get a review and we can give input and to make recommendations.
The reason why I'm asking is that if a fact sheet that's, it can't be 20 pages long, but if there's a fact sheet that is available, then obviously we as council can also distribute that to whatever social media.
Well, that's the
we
thing,
have as well.
like having an understanding of what products will be developed in this and which ones are ones that we'd be interested in or some version of it. I think that would be very positive.
All right, so no further, anything to talk about, any new issues people want to bring up?
Well,
Before we move on,
okay, yeah. Unfortunately, there aren't many Long Island Railroad people here, but one of the big issues that has come, and I think we need answers, is to the equipment availability for improving service the eastern end of Long Island. And what I have a feeling that we're not getting straight answers from the management of the Long Island Railroad. And I think there is a severe equipment shortage. They don't have enough cars and locomotives to adequately provide the service. Now, there may be some options. Some other transit agencies may have equipment that could be leased to the Long Island Railroad or even sold to the Long Island Railroad. I'm personally looking
Are you
into it.
speaking about the peak summer riding or year
No,
round?
all year round.
Year round.
And one of the things I wanted to bring out, I don't think I have extra copies of it. If you look at, the Port Jervis line does not have the greatest service. But if you look at the Port Jervis line service, and I have copies of the schedules, compared to what they get on the eastern end of Long Island, this is phenomenal service. And that's something, the service out there is just totally inadequate. And for the people out there, the
Service to Port Jervis or the-
No.
eastern end of Long Island. And I'm saying, if at least they got the service level that we have to Port Jervis, which is going to actually a less dense population area than Long Island, I think that would be a great satisfaction to the people there, and it would be a lot more useful than what they have. Virtually, they don't have a viable service, east of Ronkonkoma. It really is.
You're talking
I
about
sat
the
on
Greenport
the
branch.
steps.
The Greenport branch, also the Montauk branch.
How many times have you ridden the train to Greenport?
Excuse me?
How many times have you ridden the train to Greenport?
Not very often.
Well,
I've
I've been
ridden
on
it a lot.
it numerous times, and you get off of Greenport, it's me and maybe one other person.
Well,
So maybe the
Not
service
when I ride to
level.
Greenport.
Huh?
When I ride to Greenport, there's people getting on all along the way.
That's in the summer.
Can I, excuse me, Randy, Randy, I'd like to respond, because, first of all, the comment you said that you don't think that the Long Island Railroad management is responding. Truthfully, I don't know if you've spoken to them, I don't know what you say, respond to you, I don't know what that means.
they were the president to me.
Well, I don't know in what capacity did you speak to them?
No, I at the Long Island Railroad Committee meetings afterwards.
Well, I would appreciate, maybe go through, because maybe we have things going on, it's the first I'm hearing it from you at an open meeting like this, you've had any time to call me and speak to me about it. We follow the attendance and the ridership, as he says, of Montauk. I go out there, it's not high ridership during the year. The summer it increases, and they've increased the ridership. We've got problems at other places in the line throughout the system that we feel are more a priority than going out to Montauk, that we're working on. There is limited equipment. I'm never someone who speaks up for the railroad, as you know. I'm definitely not someone who never cheerleads them, but there are only certain lines that need more service that aren't getting it. I don't think that's the one that we're focusing on.
But
And if you want to talk about any time of what we've gone through and what we're working on, I'd be more than happy to speak to you about it, instead of being, blindsided right now with a press like that.
At the May Metro North Long Island Railroad Commuter Council, which I attended and spoke at, in answer to Commissioner Mertler's question, Mr. Nowakowski said there was adequate equipment to meet all the service needs.
I'm not,
You'll find out that it's not true.
Even on Labor Day, they had to cancel a train out to Port Jefferson because they didn't have enough equipment in the schedule.
They keep, riding on this diesel-powered, self-propelled.
DMUs.
Yeah,
They can't get them.
they're not getting bids. They keep saying, and Noah Cassia has said this any number of times at board meetings, those would be the perfect thing to increase service on the Montauk, the Greenport, and several other branches, and they can't get bids on it. I don't know if it's
So
because
that-
their order's not big enough.
No, they never
or what.
tried to get bids. They said the equipment's not out there.
They need
Yeah, they can't
FRA
find a way-
compliant equipment.
Which is why there's no money for DMUs
They
anymore.
got them in Europe, they had them in the Orient, so I
They
don't
got them in
know.
the
Yeah,
States.
the-
One all over the United
The
States.
problem with the European ones apparently do not meet US safety standards.
There are DMUs in the United States.
Rebel
Yeah.
Line, right there in Trenton, 34 mile, that runs 20 to
Rebel Lines are like, well,
Well, that's what it is.
it's like rail, this is heavy
Just
rail.
forget that, the money has been reallocated to buy work locomotives, so forget the DMUs, forget the scoops. Are they
Well,
anything-
When I saw that in the schedule, I said, there should be an accounting of the equipment that is available, that locomotive, all the equipment, and how much is into service, what's the service flow, and get a clear understanding of what equipment is available. You know, if you